Welcome to the Life Science and Marketing Podcast, where we discuss marketing and career insights and tips with leading experts from across the globe. Let's join our host, Paul Avery, CEO of BioStrata, as he chats with our next life science marketing guest.
Hi everyone. This week I am joined by Regis Grenier, who's been an industry friend of mine for a long time. Regis has 25 years of experience in sales and marketing for scientific companies, including Tecan Software and Bio-Rad. This experience includes deep understanding of the unique challenges and opportunities in marketing to scientific and research communities. These days, Regis is now embarking on his latest adventure, offering marketing strategy and implementation as a consultant serving software companies working in scientific and technical areas. Regis, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Paul. Well, thank you for inviting me, and I'm very glad to be here.
Well, the pleasure is ours, and I know the audience will really benefit from it. And from that, let's help them get to know you a little bit better, Regis. Tell us a little bit about your personal story and how you got into life science marketing and sales.
Okay, sure. So I've always been interested in science, and my background is business. So I'm not a scientist. However, I've been interested in science for years. I read articles in the New Scientist every day to make my day valuable. And I also was fortunate to start early as a sales representative years and years and years ago in France for a company called Mérieux. Then I moved to the UK and worked for a company called Bio-Rad. And Bio-Rad for about 16 years, for working for the informatics division. And I was in charge of sales and marketing, for, the whole world, basically, except Japan. And then I moved to Tecan more recently, and I stayed about 6.5 years at Tecan, in charge of marketing only. So yes, that's a short summary of my background.
Oh, I love it. What do you love most about that role, working in sales and marketing, or the roles you've had? What's got you up in the morning?
So really is to think about strategy and implementing. So to look at the big picture, to have a kind of, I would say, a holistic vision of things, and see things in their globality, and measure results. To always keep an eye on the data. So to think about stuff, implementing the strategy, and really measuring on a daily basis the results, to get to a point where we participate to the growth of those companies. That's what really interests me.
Yeah, I agree. It's well, you've played the marketing and the sales role, so a proper
Correct.
growth driver, but it is great that marketing plays such a fantastic role in enabling company growth, especially these days in the times of inbound marketing and things like that. But what about outside of work, Regis? What do you do outside of work to make you smile?
So I have a kind of a lot of activities. The kids keep me busy, of course, but sports activities, and also I'm overlooking a project of reforesting in Scotland, in the west of Inverness, where part of my family is. So that's I have a totally different type of project, but I'm very interested in environmental issues. So I'm trying to diverse my area of interest, and have different things to do that interest me, other than science.
Wow. Tell me a bit more about the reforesting project. That sounds really interesting. How did you get into that?
Well, it's basically an opportunity to basically replant an area of Scotland that is going to be. There is a massive project going on over there with several players. I'm a small player, but we are working on a piece of land and trying to participate to that, at our small level. Yes, because I think this is critical for the future. If you know the history of Scotland, there's been different stages in the deforesting for many different reasons. And now there is a movement to reforest, rewild, and working with the local community, the farmers, to make sure We don't do things in our little corner, but work with them. So that's very interesting. Yeah.
That's amazing. I've known you for a number of years. I had no idea about that. And that's why I love this podcast. Okay, let's move from trees to something else in the natural world, at least. That's my attempt at a segue. Let's talk about science, because you worked in, I know you mentioned you don't have a science background, but you've worked in science for a number of years now. So I was wondering, what's been the most interesting product or project that you've worked on from a science perspective, and sort of what made it stand out to you?
So purely science, I would say the Bio-Rad experience for the informatics division of Bio-Rad was probably the most stimulating, I would say. The reason is that we were in the area of analytical chemistry, so identifying compounds, identifying what is in material at molecular level, and it was very interesting because spectroscopy. So it was infrared, NMR, MS spectrometry, spectroscopy. Sorry, and the interest was we were touching a lot of different industries because you study material for the aerospace industry, automotive industry, paint, defense, environmental industry. So many different type of industry were impacted by this type of product. And, we expanded the product. It's basically, spectral identification of unknown compounds to many, many different type of industries. And I think it was fascinating. I visited a lot of labs and scientists like to exchange, also to tell about what they're doing. And I was spending a lot of time listening and then of course, offering products to help them to accelerate their research. So it was fascinating. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
That does sound fascinating. Were there any particular scientific stories or applications that particularly stick out when you're in the lab and thinking, oh, wow, I really love what you're going to be doing with our kit?
Yeah, I mean, the aerospace was particularly fascinating because it's obviously extremely critical to get your materials right when you work in those industries. So you feel a part of a very important process when you are in this kind of working for this kind of industry. And then I would say at Tecan, totally different. More, I would say, technology rather than science, helping or being part of the workflow that participates to the development of medicine, of making science progressing, being part of that process, was also extremely interesting. So yes, a bit two different examples, but in both cases, extremely stimulating to work in those environments.
Yeah, I love it. Is there any particular area of science that you're finding most interesting at the moment, or when you're thinking forward to some of the consultancy projects you're going to work on? Is there any particular area of science you'd love to get your teeth into?
Well, I think life science is really an enormous industry with different sectors that you can work on. And they're all they're all part of a chain and they're all interesting. I mean, at Tecan, we were working a lot on automation integration with the software, or integration between software and software with hardware, big stores, automated, semi-automated systems. And yes, so this sector really interests me. So I hope I'm going to stay in it and keep working in this area in my consultancy projects. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. With that in mind, then let's maybe look a little bit more at some of the cool stuff that you've done in your career.
Mm-hmm.
Start quite big picture. Let's say I don't know, what's been the most. What would be the best professional lesson or tip that you've learned so far that you would share with our listeners?
Well, there was a lot of lessons because it's a progressing, thing. And for me, what's important in marketing particularly is to provide value to the scientist or the technician or the engineer, because marketing can be kind of annoying in a way. I mean, it's funny to say that from a marketer point of view, but from the receiver point of view, I think we need to always think marketing, especially in niche, scientific, technical area. Am I delivering value? This is always my obsession, and that's what challenged me all the time. What keep me, make me wake up in the morning is what am I going to produce today to interest those people, and and then the second phase, which is obviously selling products, comes more naturally and less aggressively if you always interest your receiver with a very interesting piece of content, something where they're going to learn something about a new technology. I think this is what really fascinates me in marketing these days, is to be able to do that.
Yeah, I really agree. I remember when I left the lab and I moved into marketing communications. And I have to admit, when I was a scientist, I misunderstood the word marketing and advertising, and I thought they were the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm honest, I thought advertising was people trying to sell me things I didn't really want. But it's only when you get into the discipline of marketing, isn't it, Regis, that you really understand what it really is, which is connecting people with the information and tools that they need to do whatever it is that they're trying to do. And if you get that marriage right, you're adding lots of value from that first touch point, because hopefully you're educating and inspiring people in terms of what they can do. And then, of course, if your software or your tool or your service is the right fit for that, then fantastic. But yeah, it's not really about pushing product onto people and aggressively selling, as you said, right? It's about adding value from the outset. I love that. I love that way of looking at things. And do you think that's a major challenge then for life science marketers today, like how to continue to add value in our marketing efforts?
Definitely. I mean, it's a constant battle because the ocean of information that people have access to is huge, so people have different ways of looking for information. They either, well, most of the time, I think they use the internet, these days. So they need to find what they're looking for and not find a little bit of what they're looking for, and then a sales guy calls them straight away after that. So I think, and sometimes they don't want sales to contact them straight away. They want to have time to think about what they've been reading. So for me, it's a huge challenge. It's almost, if I push it a little bit, to create marketing that is actually not looking like marketing. It's content, it's value. So my job is to identify the pain points. People, what did they want to know? What they search for a software solution for whatever it is, and when they find it, and there are, as well as me, techniques to make sure they find it. They're not disappointed by it. They're not saying, right, okay, I need to contact somebody else. No, I want in my own time, be able to gather some good level of technical information and create it by people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's I think what makes the difference, in my opinion, between good marketing and the everyday marketing that potentially can annoy people.
Oh, I agree. I remember we both got passionate about inbound marketing quite early on in its development, and we had a number of discussions about creating content that was so good people would be willing to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
And that being the aim of a marketer, especially when creating content. And I can't help, I look around many industries, and probably the life sciences included, and the explosion of content marketing over the last 5, 6, 7 years. I wonder if we've forgotten that a bit, right? There's a lot of same content, a lot of Me Too content,
Yes.
all kind of saying the same types of things in the scrabble to produce more stuff. Do you feel that maybe we've lost that really unique, true value part to our content marketing efforts?
Yes. I mean, it's because of competition and pressure. All companies have a goal. They need to grow, and there are a lot of movement in the industry. And people are under pressure to create results quickly. I think it's better to work in the mid to long term. So to leave the time to your audience to understand what is it that you're doing. So of course, there are always short-term targets. That's normal. But if you don't work on the mid to long term as well, then you compromise the next year or the 2 years or 3 years after your first marketing action. So I think it's very important to think very deeply about what you write. Make sure it's quality checked by people knowing what they're talking about from the industry, and written by people from the industry, not by marketers. Marketers are making it look pretty. Okay, that's fine. And marketers using technique to make sure this content is found. But I think the challenge is the value, and I'm obsessed by it, of the content. And you said people will be ready to pay for it. If people are already ready to enter a bit of their details to download something, you cannot disappoint them because they already, make this effort saying, all right, okay, if I enter my details, I know what that means, right? Somebody is going to contact me. But it's only a small part of the job. When they download this content, they need to be satisfied by the content, the value proposition. And it's not about product. It's about the solution to problems. How do we address, how do we know, first of all, the problems? Before solving a problem, you need to be aware of the problem. Why do we know it? We've been doing it. We observed it, and here are the solutions. And so the person already knows most of the information already. And then, eventually somebody contact them, of course. That's normal. That's business.
With that in mind, where do you sit on the gating or not gating of content in terms of having it behind forms? What are your thoughts?
Okay. So this one is always the challenge. So the way I did it so far is to give an introduction, making sure on the content that we produced, the value is clear. But I don't give the full content. So I gate materials. I'm a big advocate of gating because if you're confident enough that the value that you're providing is high, you don't disappoint when the person is going to enter their detail because they say, oh God, I need to enter my details. I don't want to do that. But if you get into the habit of not disappointing those people, they know after a while, okay, version 1 of this white paper, pretty good stuff. I don't mind because this is valuable. So it's a question of confidence. If you're confident in your content, you can gate it. And because this content also has demanded a lot, and I know by experience, because we are extremely demanding in terms of the content value proposition, it takes a huge amount of work. We're not producing an app note or case studies. We think about it deeply, and white papers, even bigger type of documentation. So there is a lot of value behind it. There's a lot of work. So the only thing we ask in exchange is that could you please provide your details, and then at some point we'll contact you. But I'm always open to those conversations with people saying you should not gate. You should leave everything. Because maybe I'm missing something. But my preference is, confidence in the value. Okay, in exchange, we want to know you.
I think you can make the argument both ways on that one, which is what makes it such a fascinating conversation topic. And I think the point that you make about providing exceptional value and having confidence in that value, and even proving that value by providing a bit of content up front, as you mentioned, I think you're creating a value exchange with the prospect that hopefully they don't feel shortchanged by. And I think you said a bit earlier in the conversation, and I know I've experienced this, and I suspect many people have, filling in your email address for something you thought was going to be awesome, but was actually a real disappointment, like lack of depth, lack of insight, all these other things. But if you look at it the other way, as you described, Regis, and you build trust in your brand as being a source of that information, people want to give their email address because when you've got something new to send them, they'll feel like they probably want it. right? They want
Absolutely.
you to email it to them because you've already proven that you deliver value.
Absolutely. And people understand we're a business. So if the value is high, you don't disappoint them. They understand that the reason why we ask the details is because at some point we'll contact them. They know we're a business anyway. So I think the balance is right if you're confident in your value.
Okay. What about maybe on this tack, but maybe in a completely different area of marketing? What's been your favorite marketing campaign or strategy that you've implemented so far and why?
So in terms of strategy, the most interesting, I would say, was my last experience with Tecan software. And the reason is because we really started from scratch. There was a very limited marketing when we started about 6.5 years ago. And so when you have to build something, it's always intellectually stimulating. And also the quality of the people within this organization was so high. I said, well, I have all the brains that I need here. We're going to build some content that is absolutely fabulous. So it took a while because people have a lot of other functions, product managers, project manager, etc., within such organizations. So the challenge is a human challenge. Convince them. So it was interesting because you have to explain that to a lot of people who are not familiar with marketing, what marketing is and what the value of marketing is inside the organization before you produce something for people outside the organization. So it is a kind of discussions. Those discussions were very interesting. It took a certain amount of time, and to discover what an organization can do technically, but not known from most of the world except few customers. Fascinating because you discover amazing technology that is hidden because the marketing has not been triggered yet. So the marketing is here to unleash those secrets. This is technology that is here to serve the pharmaceutical industry. So yeah, that was in terms of strategy. And also the implementing of this. So not only to think about what you need to do, but implementing it, I thought was extremely stimulating. And then to measure, I go back to that, measure the results of it. The data telling you, yes, this is successful. Yes, people, your brand is growing. People trust you. You build this brand awareness. You via the content of based on a group of people really knowing the pharmaceutical industry, and you extract that from their brain, from their knowledge, from their past, because most people have worked in many years, in this organization for pharmaceutical industry, and it's great. Yeah, you see the amount of you go to a trade show, and people tell you, "I read that white paper, pretty good stuff." And that's really nice to hear things like that. And I heard it many times. So yeah, that was from a strategy point of view, the most rewarding. After specific campaigns, I would say that the one I enjoy the most, I mean, it's a mix. You need to, in marketing, you need to do many different things. Marketing is complex these days, you need to do many things right. And people choose their own channel of, some people go to trade shows, some people go to LinkedIn, some people go to podcasts or blogs, read blogs. Some people like articles, it's a different way to, but a lot of people watch videos. So what was really interesting is the case studies. So when you think about the content, another super valuable content is the real case scenario. So one of your customer is willing to explain the case in detail and explain what they are doing, why they are doing it. They don't need to talk about a product. It's absolutely fine. It's relaxed. And that I thought was extremely valuable and successful because you have in front of you people from, the large pharmaceutical companies or biotechs and academic institutions talking to their peers. And I really enjoy that. It's not easy, get done, because in a big pharma in particular, you need a lot of authorization to make sure they don't give the impression they endorse too much, a business versus another business. But there are a way to get that into an interesting content that is not a pure marketing exercise where, oh yeah, their product is great, I love it. No. It's talk about your research. That's what we want to know. So, and it's within the frame of, of course, the company that is selling products, but it's not pushy in a way that, people talk about our products all the time. They just talk about themselves, basically, their challenges and projects.
So there's so many fascinating things to unpick in that. And I think when we think about marketing, it's very easy to think in terms of tactics and channels quite quickly, but you highlighted a couple of challenges that I think many of us face, but we don't speak about very often, which is how to get internal buy-in for the marketing projects that we're trying to run.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this case, how to get customer buy-in to be part of case studies, which from the conversations I have in the industry, both of which are really tough. So what I'd love to know, we'll do it in 2 parts, Regis. Number one, if you're dealing with someone that's a subject matter expert or a technical person, you're trying to get them to buy into what we're trying to do in marketing. How did you do that? How can you do that?
It's a very good question. So what's important is to make sure it's not only the marketing people talking to these people. These people, our customers, have developed a trusting relationship with the company because, of course, if they are willing to talk, or I guess by definition, they like us, right? So you need to involve other technical people, part of the company, whether it's a product manager. So what we did, that's what we did in my previous experience, to make sure we have a two-way conversation. And we have time. Never rush people, because sometimes we have, as well at the big conferences like SLS coming and all that. Oh, we want my case studies. No rush. It's their decision to talk about what they're doing in the time frame they choose. So never pressurize them, but having this two-way conversation where actually the technical people even talk to them more than you do. So me, I'm overlooking. I'm speaking with some technical people and say, look, could you have a chat and ask them? We also use the user group meetings. User group meetings are very interesting because you can have those one-to-one conversations with people, and you have lunches, and then you can explain what the case study is all about. And when they understand it's about them and not about us, well, it's a bit about us, but in a soft, non-aggressive way, they some of them like it. So I'm not saying everybody will get authorization to do it, especially in the pharma. But for example, CROs are more than open to promote themselves. Smaller biotechs also looking for investors, and so there is also sometimes a common interest. And in the academia, people like to talk about their research. So those are the main. And then sometimes we get pharma as well, if they feel comfortable with it. But there is no pressure. It's a gradual conversation with people they trust. Not only, I'm not saying they don't trust the marketing people, but not only with marketing people.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's loads of pearls of wisdom in there, Regis, but definitely leaning into people who've already got relationships with the people you're trying to work with, and then you've got some trust built in. I love the don't rush it aspect, because I haven't really thought about it before, but hearing you say it, when you rush people, you just rush them to a no answer, right? Because you're like, come on, I need this. And they just go, oh, no, it's on the too hard pile now because you're hassling me and rushing me. And I think that's a really good bit of advice as well.
There can be another issue is people who say yes, but they didn't really think about it. And then 6 months later, you still have nothing. So when I say not rushing, it's also even the yes people, because they have also they have a lot of work to do. They have their hierarchy, they have their legal people. It's not that easy. So you add up another workload on top of so for example, if you want case study for SLS, or you start to prepare 1 year before, and you start to talk to people gradually, and sometimes being a bit opportunistic if you feel that one of your customers is ready. So I think that's the best way to produce this.
I love it. Have you got any other sort of top tips for marketers based on your career so far that you'd pass on?
Well, marketers, they all, I think, they know what they are doing. For my, and in the segment of science and life science in particular, where a lot of software are used, is to make sure you understand the value of the product you want to promote. So, and what I mean by that is to really understand deeply the market. So it seems, obvious, but I think to make the effort, especially if you're a marketer interested in different type of markets, the first step is to understand the market and what value the product you're representing. Is it overvalued? Because, when you're in a company, you're the best on about everything. We're auto-centered around our product. We think, why are more people buying this product? It's genius. But no, first you need to understand the value. So is this product here to take a share of the market or the big share of the cake? And then where you're clear about the value of the product you're presenting, even if people say it's the best in everything, when you have made your opinion on that, then you adapt your marketing to it and you make sure the targets that you want are realistic, because software always evolves. So if you're not ready now, you will be ready in 6 months. And in 1 year, you might have the leader because you get always those feedback from the market. And marketing is always here for that as well. Sense the market, look at the market, study the market, and feed that back to the product people to make sure that if you're not ready on day one or almost ready, but still have, you're here for a share of the market, you're ready to take the leadership of that market in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, realistically. So I think that's the advice, is to be realistic about what you say and not making any claims, because again, scientists, they will know straight away if you exaggerated your claims. So always be in line with what the market wants and what you can offer realistically to the market.
Yeah, God, I think that's a great tip. A marketing term is unique selling points, but really the pursuit of defensible, credible, unique selling points is hard. I see a lot of companies defining what they think are unique selling points are actually just selling points. But as you say, you can't go overboard in trying to lean into something that you're jazzing up or hyping up too much, because scientists will call foul on anything that they don't see as credible reasonably quickly because they're very skeptical, information-driven buying group. So yeah, diving deep into understanding the market.
Exactly.
But is there any sort of particular tips, tricks, or tools or approaches that you've used in the past to achieve that, get under the skin of the market?
Yeah. So me, what I use is actually quite simple. It was to talk with the people inside the company and understand. So I was mentioning earlier secrets, and for with my life experience, it was the huge potential of the software to integrate with other systems. So that was the USP, and never used in marketing before. It was just a fact that the organization was making sure that the software could integrate with hardware systems. And, customers want integrated systems. They don't want to have to play with, many systems. And I learned that when I spoke internally with all our technicians. So the tip I have is don't be separated from the engineers, technicians, scientists. Be part of a team with them. Often the marketing is separated somewhere. Never talk to the guys. They do what they have to do. But if you talk to those guys, they have a lot to say. They have a lot to say. And they told me very early in my life experience, yeah, we integrate with, and I asked them, where is it on your website? I don't see anything. How do people know? Well, we just let them know when we talk with them. I said, well, okay. So that was a fantastic challenge, and then we display all the examples of integrations. We talked with our partners. So the double advantage of doing that, then you get closer relationship with your partners as well. And as well as me, because you've been in marketing a long time, that you can refer all leads you can exchange with those partners and build up some, co-marketing. So it's a double advantage. Not only you unleash the USP, you show it, which was not done before, by talking internally, learning. You want to learn. You need to like. That's why you need to like science and technology. Otherwise, you're separated. And then when you've done that, you activate it. You start to talk to these partners. Partners say, "Oh yeah, great idea. I want to be on your website." I said, "Well, you have to put us on your website too." "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, let's do that." And then you create this more volume, traffic volume, referral leads, exchange between, co-marketing activities. So that would be my advice. Be interested in the technology, be interested in the science, and discover what are the real USPs rather than elaborating some kind of things that don't exist really.
Yeah, I love that. I often get asked, do you have to have a strong science background to work in life science marketing? And of course, I think it can help, but it's certainly not necessary as long as you've got that passion you describe, Regis, for
Yes.
science and technology and you want to learn about it. Then I think you've got the power. I also love the concept of having the conversations. So obviously you talked about partners and you talked about internally, but I've also seen you over many years running at different trade shows, right? You're a marketer who gets out the trade shows and also speaks to the customers and partners on the trade show floor, gathering that customer intel in person as well. And I can imagine when you get all that data, what customers are saying, partners are saying, what internal specialists are saying, and you put it all in one mind, in this case yours, there's a lot of powerful information there that's all filtering in together and generating a lot of insights, I can imagine.
Correct. Absolutely. Trade shows are only a part of the marketing mix these days. And in my opinion, not even the biggest part. It's just an element of it, but there is definitely an advantage because, as you know, these days we had many years where we are not talking to each other except via screen. It's important to meet people face to face because they tell you much more. They tell you much more than via a screen. So yes, trade shows definitely, but keep the value of trade show where it should be. Not to overvalue it, but keep the value. But I think UGMs as well. Also, it's good for a marketer to go with a sales representative to go visit a customer once in a while. Go out, have a meeting and you sit in the room, you listen. I've done that many times. I learned a lot of things, especially about the problems where those pain points I was mentioning earlier. When you're in front of them, they tell you what they are, and can your software resolve those problems? Show me. So it's good to be as well on those visits. Some visits, of course, not all of them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think there's so many insights to glean from there and so many insights to glean from this podcast episode, Regis. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on. If people wanted to get in touch with you to learn more and ask you questions or perhaps find out about this new consultancy service you're offering, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So LinkedIn, of course. So LinkedIn, it's Jean-Regis Grenier. So Jeanregis, Grenier, Grenier. You find me easily, I think. And then my email address as well. I don't know if you want me to give it now.
Whatever's best for you. I think people can find you on LinkedIn and send you a message that way. And
I'm more than happy to receive emails as well. It's not a problem.
Good stuff.
It's Regis 1000, so Regis 1000 at hotmail.co.uk.
Perfect stuff. Well, all that remains is for me to thank you again. It's been absolutely brilliant, and I'm sure I will speak to you soon. Thank you, Regis.
You're very welcome.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Life Science and Marketing Podcast. For your regular dose of cutting-edge life science marketing insights, don't forget to subscribe. Join us again in 2 weeks for another engaging expert discussion.